All right, so folks, we are just wrapping up this build weekend here, and I figured I'd just kind of show a little bit of the progress that was made. The shed is not done, and there were a couple of mistakes made, but that is the whole point. I'm calling this the practice pancake because when we get to framing the house, I want to do a pretty good job on that. And, who cares about a shed? I mean, I do, but, if I miss a nail or split a board, it's not the worst thing in the world. I can always fix that right on the spot, and it's not going to really throw anything off. It's pretty quick and cheap to repair things. Hopefully this audio comes through. We are having one of our rare still days. If we look out over the mountains over here, you can see behind me we've had some weather roll through. We've got a partly cloudy day, but it has been sunny at times, and we've had a couple of moments where the mountains in the background were really just postcard quality. So that's kind of one of the nice things about it. If you see, any of the national parks or anything like that, Yosemite, this kind of really reminds us of it. So the job site is still a mess, although I have started cleaning that up a little bit. And you're going to see a lot of litter floating around here, so I apologize for that in advance. But, this is a work in progress. What we've got done here with the shed and has really come together pretty quickly is I've got the main framing all done, including some of the upper. These are the gable end studs, and I've been fitting them in there. I got some really nice joints, and I'm really happy with how that came out. I'm also happy with how most of my rafters came out. There were a couple that weren't so perfect. A few areas where I've got about a 1/4 inch gap, but honestly, where the gaps are is not structural. That's really just aesthetics. And it's more a point of pride. So I'm not too worked up about it because, this is something that, I have been planning to do for a while, but haven't had a lot of personal experience with. So I'm learning as I go and really just building that experience before we get into the house. So the shed is all framed. The only thing I haven't done is the south wall, which is the far wall that you can't see here. The gable end studs under there are not done. And I haven't obviously put the siding under here. I've got two pieces of roofing up, and no, it is not wrong that they're hanging over as far as they are. That is just a temporary placement for right now. I really wanted to kind of experience how it was getting them up on the roof. Again, remember, I'm solo, doing this all DIY. I don't have anybody else helping me. Each of those sheets weighs about 40 or 50 pounds, and I'm lifting them about 12, 14 feet up in the air. So on a windy day, that is quite an experience, getting that up on the ladder. And I really wanted to experience that with 1 or 2 sheets on the shallow and steep sides of the roof, just to see what I was doing. I had originally planned on doing a little bit of a gable end overhang, about an 18-inch overhang. And I think I might scrap that. It's turning out to be a lot of work, and I'm not afraid of the work, but I'm running out of time. I'm always time constrained on this project, doing the best I can with the time that I have. And sometimes you build a bigger plan. You don't know how long something is going to take, so you build the best plan you can, and then you roll with it. As plans change, as you discover where you are, by the end of a build weekend, you make a couple of compromises to stay on track and at least get a shed built of some kind. So that's what I'm doing here. I am going to cut that roof sheathing and have it flush to the end, but I am going to leave the ridge board proud. So that ridge board comes out about 12 inches though on each end. And I was thinking that I could use it to hang things. Lights, pulleys, utility items, cameras, really just any kind of thing that you might hang off the side end of a shed. I could use that for that. Even a clothesline, I don't know, something. I could mount the Starlink to it on a pole. There are all kinds of uses I could think of for that, so I think I'll leave the ridge board out, and I'll cut the sheathing to fit around it, rather than having the sheathing come up under it and do the trimming that way. I've got both windows installed, north and south walls. I haven't done any of the trimming yet, and I will be doing that on the next trip out. I have the trim, but it's just honestly the wrong time to do it. That's next. And obviously the sheathing doesn't come all the way up. This shed is very, very tall, much taller than a 4x8 sheet can cover. And so obviously I'm going to have a second piece that goes up there. And you can see I've got a little bit of staircasing, a little bit of stepping there. And this shed is actually very, very close to level. But when I built the deck was not super level. That was something that literally I was living out here in a tent building that deck. And so the deck was sort of put together as quickly as I could. It hasn't settled at all. Honestly, I had maybe 8 hours to build it, and I was in a frantic rush. to return some excavator equipment that I had pulled the pad out with. So I didn't do the best job in the world with the deck, and that side is about ½ inch to 1 inch lower, and so I wanted to keep the inside of the shed and the walls of the shed level, and so you can see everything's level, but I'm making up for it because now you can see in the sheathing how things actually ended up being a little lower. It's very subtle, but it's there, and that's fine. I'll fix that up with trim. I need to put a second row of the sheathing up anyway, and when I do that, a row of trim will go across. It's composite fiber material down here. I'll get some wire pieces for those gaps. It's the same stuff you see out on fireproof or fire resistant. So I'm not too worried about it. It's just aesthetics. And obviously on the edges, I have some nice joints here. I'm actually really pleased with how all of that came out. You can see what I mean by level. This is actually flush and square mostly. I mean, within about 1/8 of an inch. And this will get covered with trim. So you can see all these screw holes will get covered. These are supposed to be color match fasteners. It's supposed to be, you're not supposed to have to paint this if you don't want to. I mean, you can, but they are primed, and you can just leave it in primer if you want. But you can see all the screws here because I wasn't able to source the same color of screw as the siding that was available at Lowe's. And so I just went with the closest match I could, and I'll be filling and painting those as I get a chance. The siding is done all the way around the shed, and now you can see if I stand back a little bit how that roof works. So you can see I've got a shallow roof on this side and a steep roof on that side. That's an 8/12 pitch. This is a 5/12. And that was partly for the salt box aesthetic, but also this is the side that faces south. So south is this direction. And you can see this shallow angle here. It's actually about 20 degrees. And at our latitude, that's a pretty decent angle for solar panels. So I'm going to put a row of solar panels up on that roof. We'll have solar in the shed, charge batteries, run some lighting, run the camera systems, security systems, and things like that out of the shed, and just generally have some power available to do some things. It's not a wood shop. I'm not running a table saw in there, but if I ever needed to do some work, it'd be available to do that. I have made a couple of compromises. I don't know if I'll get the right position here. The sun is directly in my eyes, but you can see I've got my rafters cut very flush with each other. I did that with a string line, and I totally screwed up the north side. I've got two rafters that are much longer than the others, so not a big deal, easy fix. I'll just run a string line across those next time I'm out, trim them up, get the rest of the roof sheathing on, and then we're just going with a traditional asphalt shingle. We had wanted to do a metal roof, but honestly, we're just running the budget. It starts really adding to it. We're at $2,000 in already for the shed, and looking to try to finish it rather than add to the cost. So I'll just come around to the other side here for a couple of final comments. And you can see I've got a mess of a pile here. This is kind of my cutting area. So that. It's a 5-foot door, and what I'm planning on doing, because there is a fair bit of wind here, in fact, I hope the wind is not affecting the audio, but this door, I'm going to have actually a 2-panel door. So I'm going to do a sliding barn door style. I've already got the hardware to hang over once I get the rest of the sheathing up in that gap. But when I put the door in, I'm going to do it in 2.5-foot pieces, well, probably 3 foot, so there's a little bit of an overhang. And you can see I've actually sized this, so this panel here will allow the door, this is about the size of it, so the door will come neatly over to here when it's open. And that way, with a hinge, with a windy site like this, the wind would just yank that door. Like if you're trying to open it, it'd be a big sail area, the door would get damaged, you might get hurt, and even if you didn't, it'd be awkward to open. With this way, by the 2 sliding doors, I can just open half of it if it's raining and not get any weather in, or I can open the whole thing and get big material in and out. This will be our storage for the project. And you can see how the interior came out. I still have a few temporary braces, although don't be misled. Some of these braces are temporary, some are not. So this is a temporary brace that I used when I was leveling the wall, and I'm almost level. I'm about an 1/8 bubble out, which is not ideal, but again, it's a shed. I did my best with it, and I made a mistake in this corner, so it's very close to level, but an 1/8 bubble out in this corner. But I was using this to get this level and to brace it once it was. This will come back out. You can see it's not nailed very much. This, however, is permanent. This is called lead-in bracing. And if you look very closely here behind me, you can see there are notches that I've cut in the studs on the outer side of the studs. And this is where the bracing just sets in under the sheathing, and it adds a lot of rigidity. the reason this one in particular is here, although I have a few others, but these are strategically placed. They're not by accident. And if I can get some better lighting here, the wind comes from here. This is so this is south behind me. This is west and that's north, right? The wind comes from the west. That's our predominant wind direction, prevailing wind direction. And as the wind comes in here, it wants to push the whole shed this way. There's a lot of force on it. This shed is quite tall. So that's an 8-foot wall, but plus a few inches. And then you've got a few feet up there above me with the gable end forming the salt box. So that is a lot of sail area for a shed. And I wanted to make sure that if the wind is pushing this direction, there's something to resist it. So this is not like an engineered shear wall, which we will have in the house to solve the same problem. Running down the middle of the house will be a shear wall. This is not an engineered shear wall, but let-in bracing can do it a lot for the structural rigidity of it. And if I wanted to push on this shed, I don't know if it's going to come out on video, but if I push with all my might here, which is not a lot, admittedly, but hey, I'm holding a selfie stick and doing this one-handed. This shed does not budge at all. Like a bit of movement. We did have one gust about 25, 30 miles an hour here, which is not a lot of wind, but enough to demonstrate the effect. This shed is rock solid now. And that's good because if I take us back outside for one last tour of the site, you can see down here in the valley behind me is the old shed. That's it down there behind the house, and that's what blew down. So I haven't had a chance to clean it out, which I know is super ghetto. Hopefully this one doesn't destroy the audio here. But yeah, that little pile down there is what remains of the shed, and it was just honestly a parachute. Once the wind took it, it just ran away with it. And so I really wanted something that was going to last, and was going to last years, not months. And so that's one of the reasons why this is engineered the way it is. You can see back behind me here, it's considerably larger than the old one as well, all with plenty of storage. And that's important because what we really want to be doing is working on the house. And you can see, the house is post and pier, so there's a little bit of environmental protection under here. But this is still pretty exposed. Like, wind blows through here, rain and moisture, fog, all the rest of that can blow through here. This was the best I could do to store things. This is everything that was in the shed before, and what we really need to do is get that stored again, because as I start working on this house this year, I be facing rain, wind, all the rest of the elements here, and I really need the ability to store things out of the elements. So yeah, that's about it. I think I'll wrap it up here, and hopefully in the next video you'll see me finishing the shed. I just have to get the gable end studs on this side, the rest of the sheathing, get the roof sheathing on, and get the shingles on. I will do a very simple trim job. So I'm just going to run probably a 2x fascia, nothing special. I'm not going to do like ASAC or anything like that, just traditional materials, but I'll probably run like a 2x8 fascia on both sides. I'll do a little bit of a soffit underneath. And then once I'm done with that, I'll put some soffit vents in. I've got a ridge vent as well. And the shed doesn't really need a lot of venting. It's pretty, it's got a lot of holes in it to begin with. It's not like it's insulated, right? But at the same time, this pancake, it's a dry run for some of the other materials we'll use. I'll use the same ridge vent on the house and so on. So I wanted to go ahead and install that here. I will probably take some time and some gravel front here. You can see this area is all dirt, and I don't mind walking in dirt. I do mind walking in mud, and this stuff just turns to chocolate. So you can see it's fairly dry right now, fairly crusty, but over here you can see all my footprints from walking around. This stuff stays very damp for a long period of time. And although I'll probably run some type of French drain between the house and the shed just to get the water away from the house and the foundation, it's still frustrating to walk around and to be able to do that kind of stuff. So anyway, hopefully this audio came out. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for some of our further updates. In the next video, like I said, we should be finishing this shed, and then once the shed is done, we're going to get all that material and the tools moved into here, get this all secured and ready to work, and then probably starting in May, we'll be renting an excavator. And what we'll be doing is pulling out all of this sage that's here, this last strip that I was leaving natural but then changed my mind on. Again, we're going to have the dogs here. The entrance to the house is going to be over here behind me. So let me see if I can get a better angle. So this here will be the main entrance of the house, not the stairs you see there. Those are temporary, just to make it easier and safer to get up on the deck with building material. The entrance is going to go this direction. This is the mudroom, and we're going to come out of the driveway and have kind of a nice walkway and such. So we need room for that, and then we need room over here for the fifth wheel entrance. So I'm going to just take this stuff out, and then, like I said, probably run a couple of, like a 2-foot, 3-foot trench right down the middle of it here for a French drain, so that we can get the water away from the house. This is built on a hill, so any flow that runs down that way. It doesn't actually get wet under the house. Most of it kind of gets absorbed by the ground and runs down that direction, but it does make it difficult to walk around. And still, it's a good idea. You know, you get a heavy snowfall year, you get a lot of snow melt. Moisture is going to get down there, so we really want to be able to get that away from the house and get this whole area stabilized. So this will be a little bit of a work area out here. And in the next couple of videos, again, finish the shed, get the camper pad and landscape finished over here, and then we'll get started on the house. So thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you want to stay tuned, and look forward to some of our future updates.